All right, we're live now. Live 22 seconds. Okay. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? This is going on. This is what is going on. So, I bought pillars some time ago. Fucking hell. My bad. Yeah, so I bought pillars some time ago. I'm getting more and more into it. It's a pretty fun game. I've got my party here. I made a custom party. I've been playing for a while now. So this guy right here is my main dude. He's the main dude. He's MC Hammer. His name is Zahir. He's my 7th level monk, ocean folk from the Deadfire Archipelago, and he's a slave. That is his background. But now he's a free man and the lord of a keep. He's got. So, admittedly, most of my stats here are boosted by magic items. So, +1 bonus for human, and then got the Jack of Wide Waters. Got 21 Constitution because magic item. I've got the 18 base +1 from the Deadfire Archipelago. In fact, why don't we need to enchant his shit so we can get that higher. I boosted his intellect so that the duration of his abilities and his will are better than nothing, because this penalty to will hurts like a lot. But I dumped perception and resolve because perception, like, he's going to be throwing a shit ton of punches and he's going to have good reflex anyways because of the high dexterity. So I took the liberty of basically dumping perception and resolve, because interrupt, as useful as it is, isn't too useful for the monk. The accuracy deficit is made up in the fact that he's a monk, and monks have high accuracy. And resolve, honestly, it's just because I needed the points. So this is my monk. This is my my ranger. She's got a gun and she's got a really fast bow. She provides range support. I usually send her towards the casters. This guy's the tank. I built him to basically be as tough as possible. This is my wizard. It's kind of funny because in traditional RPGs, you'd think strength only contributes to melee damage. But in Pillars, strength contributes to the damage for literally every class. So having high strength as a wizard is actually a good thing in this game, because it means your wizard can hit harder and his spells can hit harder. Then I've got my priest, and then I got this guy. It's also weird because intelligence is tied to the duration, area of effects, and area of effect of your abilities. So, like, I guess my barbarian here is yelling and raging very intelligently. Because he rages and screams and shouts very intelligently, and his barbaric powers are tied to intelligence, he uses his very intelligent barbarian powers to, wreck shit in combat. So here's my party. I'm doing the endless layers of Ad Nua, I think it's called. The Master Below. Explore the endless paths. The endless paths of Ad Nua is this gigantic dungeon crawl that I'm doing. Right now I'm trying to get back to the surface because I'm out of camping supplies. I'm joined by Bunnytooth, and I'm waiting for him to get here. So
I'm present.
Oh, there we go. What's up, Bunnytooth? How's the sound? Can people report in? Can they hear you fine?
Let me actually.
Yeah, turn yourself up a bit if you can. You're kind of quiet.
Yeah, hold on. Let me, is this better? Hello?
Yeah,
hello?
Yeah, you sound better.
Cool.
I was just talking about my my build. Oh, of might. Can't change.
Yeah, I saw that. This is a pretty interesting party.
Yeah, it's a very riveting game. I'm a big fan of Pillars of Eternity. I like doing custom parties just because I can min-max and basically stand more of a chance in combat. And, because regular party members aren't min-maxed and they're not built perfectly, they're actually built well-rounded. And, the problem with a lot of RPGs is if you build well-rounded characters, you're going to pay for it because they're not going to be as effective as if you were to prioritize just min-maxing more than anything. So, yeah, that's what I'm
honestly, I think that's preferable. I think it's much more preferable that like you have to specialize and be weak in some areas, because then if you're weak in some areas, that's the point of having a party, right? Like the point is that you have other people who can do stuff that you can't.
Hey there.
Yeah, exactly. So you may as well roll with the punches when it comes to like weaknesses and so on.
Hey there.
But anywho, this is the part that's really annoying.
Let's wash that down with an antidote.
So the debate happened.
Hey
The
there.
debate was the thing.
The debate was a thing,
It was.
indeed. Yeah. So I guess what are your thoughts?
I feel pretty good about it. I feel very good about it. I'm not gonna lie. I had a feeling that I kind of underprepared, but I actually came kind of overprepared. We talked about this off screen, but really the only part I think I did weak on, and I agree with you, was when I said that I don't really like arguing from a point of ethics when it comes to arguing for socialism, basically.
Yeah. If you don't mind, we can get into that a bit, as much as you can, considering you're playing Pillars of Eternity. But so I think the problem is that like, a part of it I think is terminology or vocabulary, right? Where Thought Battle was basically saying that they are that he is an egoist, right? And that's like his ethical position. And you were kind of saying, well, no, I argue from material interest. Where at the end of the day, those are kind of the same thing, because you can argue easily that for Thoughtbat as an individual and for other individuals, it'll be in their self-interest to live in a society where you have a stable economy, where you are assured a means of existence, right? You are assured an employment, and you are assured that basically these external forces won't corrupt your existence. So, for example, the market, right, with boom and bust cycles and the various different contradictions within it. But I think, and I think if you kind of focused a bit more on that, you could have kind of raked in more people who are going into this debate thinking about the ethics. Because I think a lot of like libertarians of both right and left are very, not to say they don't think about economics and politics in a relatively non-ethical sense, but a lot of their argument is fundamentally ethical. It's fundamentally about specific rights and specific, freedoms, rather than just the pure consequence of people living, a more fruitful life. But some may argue that's kind of like it's impossible to not get into both, which I think could possibly make sense, right?
Yeah, I would say so. But yeah, there was a bit of a miscommunication because I don't think I did a very good job clarifying that it's not that I don't care about ethics. It's that I just don't think it's as good of a arguing position, because people tend to like think more in lines of what benefits me or what benefits the group over like what benefits or over what is morally correct. Because over the last century, what has driven progress is the promise of a better life, the promise of a creation of more wealth. And the general psychology of liberals is that who cares if capitalism is exploitative? It's a driving force of human progress. We have more commodities and consumer goods. We're attaining better living standards because of the system that works relatively well, right? Is like the idea.
Yeah, I'm looking in the chat, and so Noob Slayer brought up that is literally an ethical argument, what I brought up. Yeah, I think honestly, you're more or less correct. It's just, I think, it's not just a matter of terminology, but also the way we're seeing it. So, for example, there's this hesitancy, I think, there was this hesitancy from Thoughtbat, where Thoughtbat was not just looking at consequence, but specifically at like a matter of rights, right? There's certain things you just can't encroach upon, even if maybe we find that like the consequences are preferable for the greater whole, because it is that individual's right to do this, which I think like you can argue against, especially from the individual, especially if like thought bad is obviously against this system, capitalism, which is, at the end of the day, for a particular interest, that of the interests of the capitalists.
Yeah. I don't know. And part of what I was trying to get to in kind of the heart of my critique, admittedly, was like, I guess the overemphasis on individualism more than anything. I mean, we're all individuals at the end of the day, but like, I mean, when it comes to systematic decisions that affect all of us, I think that one thing I was trying to outline was that it would probably be preferable if that, certain individual freedoms or certain restrictions were, shit, I can't do this right now. I'm sorry, someone's calling me. I gotta take this damn.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm just looking at the chat. I've never met a human being that wished me a fruitful life, so I'm against society in general. Well, I mean, that sucks. I don't know exactly if like that would mean that you're. See, I guess the problem is also with the whole. This gets into a very weird argument, which is the whole individual versus collective thing. Some people say like, no, at the end of the day, we're a collective. No, we're an aggregate of individuals. That's a collective. But I think honestly, it's kind of a. I don't know. I don't think it's really going to like lead to much. So on this whole society thing, at the end of the day, you can't really escape. Oh, we're not individuals. We are part of classes and groups. Yeah, exactly. Individualism is racism. Well, I don't know if it's racism.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. How would like individualism be racism? That's a very interesting. No, individualism is just illusions. The conception of self are socially constructed. We're having quite a philosophical discussion here in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
So what's some of the chat? Just curious.
They're talking about individualism. One person said that individualism is racism. Another person said that individualism is a delusion.
Yeah.
The conception of the self, the conceptions of the self are socially constructed.
Hey there.
I see. I gotcha.
Individualism is collectivism obscured by hypothetical middle step contract. Yeah, I think that's a good point to make.
Give me that. Sorry about that.
What is that, by the way? Is it like a T?
Hey there.
You could say that. It's kind of a T. Fuck, I just fell for a trap.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's a T.
Yeah, it's my habit. It's my bad habit. Is what it is.
Anti-racism states individualism is racism. What? And individualism is part of white supremacy and white culture.
Yeah, individualism can be used to justify a lot of spooks, and ultimately, I care more about collective decision making. If the needs and the desires of the group contradict the needs and desires of the individual or the few, then yeah, I mean, ultimately, you have to be in favor of the collective overruling the will of the individual in that case, if you really are a believer in democracy, I
think honestly, I would more see it as like when we're talking about like socialism, or at least what me and Trav are more advocating with socialism. You're creating like a system where interests aren't split, right? Because then if you have interests that are split, that leads to contradiction. This is where like we get into the whole like class distinctions and even more, I guess, stuff that isn't as talked about, like the distinction between like country and town or whatever. So if you have like, let's say, a market system, even if like it's owned by worker cooperatives, you obviously have these worker cooperatives competing, and labor and material within the mix, leading to contradictions leading to conflict, even if like they're a part, I guess, of the same class, I guess like a cooperativist class or whatever, they would still be in conflict with one another. Where ideally we have a society where we're all working together and we're all we're
We
all
all we all benefit basically.
yeah, we all benefit. Yeah. So
Okay,
Mr. Cauliflower said, "Could you mute the game?"
Oh, right here. Let me go ahead and do that. I didn't know the game was that loud. My bad. Let's go ahead and turn the master volume down to that. All right, cool. Oh, so I can go back upstairs. Oh, fuck yeah, level 1. Oh, thank God. Dude, this dungeon crawl's a bitch, but anyways, 1 second. Let me drink my tea. Oh, there we go. There we go.
So Noob Slayer asks us if we are utilitarians.
I don't. What is a utilitarian? Philosophy is actually a pretty weak point in my understanding of things. I admittedly have a pretty weak philosophical base.
Yeah. As far as I understand it, basically it's a form of consequentialism to where you have this idea that you maximize a certain what is it? Certain utility, quote unquote, which is why it's called utilitarianism. Which means it's very like what is it called? Quantitative. It's a quantitative like form of ethics where you can sort of like number the amount of like happiness or satisfaction or whatever that a society has, and the maximization of the most good is what you is basically what you like you're advocating for. So I think often when I talk to people about ethical discussions, they refer to me as a utilitarian, but I don't like to call myself a utilitarian because I haven't read much of Mills or Bentham. So I wouldn't really. I mean, you probably would consider, because like I am saying like I'm maximizing utility, right? But I don't think I understand the complete context of it to fully say like yes, I'm utilitarian. I wouldn't like to call myself one, to put it very simply, but I probably would be considered one.
Yeah, I gotcha. Burned lady.
And I think probably Trav is the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of that. I am in favor of maximizing utility. But I guess I wouldn't exactly call myself a utilitarian, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Okay, so Robert Evans asks, is there an inequality between two households where household A has 5 incomes coming into it and household B has 1 income coming into it? What exactly are you referring to?
When I say inequality,
No, what this comment I'm saying.
Oh, I gotcha.
Household A has 5 incomes. I mean, yeah, they're unequal, I guess. Yeah, because 5 is more than 1, right?
Right.
Even if all individuals' income are the same. Well, it depends on what we mean. Like, why are we? I guess they're unequal in terms of the amounts of incomes themselves, but the overall income is not. I don't know what the point of this is. You do. Okay. Since the reason for delusions are not rational, you should not be surprised of contradictions. This is also why no amount of evidence, reality will no matter until reasons for delusions are resolved. Okay, I'm just gonna let that be as it is. But yeah, are there any other thoughts on the debate? Sorry, I'm focusing too much on the
so
chat.
I brought up Yugoslavia for a couple of reasons. All right, so there's a reason why I have gone through the lengths that I have into depth talking about really existing socialism. All right, the reason why I brought up the anecdote of Yugoslavia, and whenever I date or talk to market socialists, I'm going to bring up Yugoslavia because their economy had a number of particular contradictions and I mean, hard to describe, basically problems that emerged within it due to the way that their political economy was structured. And that if you're advocating for a political system, and you see, and there are actually like historically existing examples of it, you should look at the ones that most closely resemble your own so that you can learn what the positives and the negatives are so that you can, address what they are. I take a very hardcore historical materialist like glance at this stuff for that reason. And the reason why I also talk a lot about the Soviet Union and I try to understand and analyze its advantages and its mistakes and so on is so that I can do that, because there were contradictions in the USSR and there's plenty of valid criticism that you can make of it, and there are ways to address those problems. Because when I look at these countries, they they had their circumstances and their situations they were operating in, and I want to see how they addressed their problems, how they what they did in order to survive, how far they made it. And as far as I can tell, Marxism-Leninism has been the most successful tendency that has made it further than like literally anything else. Like ML has made it incredibly far, very far, so much so that we've got 70 years of history, in the USSR alone that we can examine, and we can even see we've learned invaluable things from the project. We learned that when you have a money cycle, when you maintain commodity production too long, you eventually see pressures to restore capitalist economic relations, and that that's invaluable information we probably wouldn't have figured out if we didn't have like the example of the USSR. So we can learn from that example, and that's why I bring these up. And the reason why I ask these people, how do you address this? How do you do it? And no offense to ThoughtBat, but I don't really think he gave me that many satisfactory answers to many of the questions I was posing over the course of that debate.
Yeah, he might not have thought about those particularly, or was perhaps a bit what was it? It might have been also because like keep in mind that was like his first, I think, live stream debate. So that might have been a factor in as well. But one point I think I was going to bring up Yugoslavia. So shit, give me one moment. What was I trying to think was Yugoslavia? Oh, so a point that ThoughtBat brought up within the debate was that he didn't really pay too much mind to Yugoslavia, considering that it wasn't exactly mutualist. Which, as far as I understand it, the key is because Yugoslavia did still have a state. Did it also have central planning? I think in some sectors it did have central planning. I may be wrong about that.
I mean, perhaps, but it was they did do some degree of decentralization. They did, for all intents and purposes, have like worker self-management. Like that was absolutely a thing, and like a documented thing in Yugoslavia. Worker self-management. I mean, I think even Tito wrote a book about it, but it was indeed a thing. So that's the reason why I bring up the anecdote. I know it's not.
No.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was about to bring that up. Like, I was kind of more going like, I guess, against the point that it wouldn't have much to do with it, because even if, like, I guess I would wonder, how exactly does the state affect the economy, even like a negative sense, with the example of Yugoslavia. So I think like, and this is something that I guess gets to more about market socialism as a general trend on the left, because I see them talk a lot about examples such as Mondragon, right? And Mondragon, of course, is this big cooperative, but it's not really within a cooperative or like market socialist economy. But I don't really see a lot of market socialists talk about Yugoslavia, and I think it perhaps could be more enlightening or even more useful to their point, depending on what they find, to learn about Yugoslavia and to like write about it. But hold on one moment, I'll back.
That's fine. Take your time, no rush. I think I'm going to go back to Defiance Bay for new quests. Actually, wait, did my shit get done? Finished in 18 hours. Okay, I'm going to Defiance Bay. Time to go to Defiance Bay. Defiance Bay. Let's go to Copper Lane. It's time to do some quests. Actually, let's keep exploring Cave Nua a bit. I might find more valuable stuff to loot.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I need to deal with something in meat space.
No worries, dude. Reno.
Yeah. So let's look at the comments again. So yes, but they all eventually fail due to capitalism being a world phenomenon. Even Cuba is starting to be more market oriented now than ever. Oh, so this is, I think, referring to Marxist-Leninism and its success and failure, which I don't know if you want to respond to that, Trav.
Yeah, no. Communism is supposed to be a global system, and ideally, the revolution should come from everywhere, or it should come from the whole world. Like, ideally, it should be a global phenomenon. But the issue is, we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a real world with real pressures that we've got to be able to address and talk about. Now, yeah, take me back to level 5. But yeah, so in a non-ideal world, in the real world, what we should focus on is having revolutions in as many countries as possible and have as many successful revolutions and go as far as we possibly can. And then that camp of socialist countries is going to have to work together in a systematic effort, united to overthrow capitalism, because only then will we be able to go on to start to erect communism, when like the imperialism is no longer a thing, like the imperialist powers have been overthrown and so on. You can still have capitalism in the world, but like if it's like a second world country or periphery countries that are like pre-imperialist, they haven't developed to the imperialist stage, then they can be tolerated under such a context, because socialism is now the global status quo. So it's not really as it's not really as a big of a deal in such a terms. So yeah, basically the idea is we have a contingency or a group of socialist countries that work together to basically win the war against the imperialists. Only problem is last time we had a major war, I say, okay, let's do this. Left socket, right socket. The issue is the Sino-Soviet split did a lot of damage. You know what I mean? Like the Sino-Soviet split. Yeah, that was a pretty big setback for the global movement. Had that not occurred, that would have been a massive game changer in the favor of revolution. Because, I mean, I don't think the Soviets were ever going to really turn China into a satellite state. I think that's what the Chinese were in favor of, but I don't think it was going to pan out like that. But anywho, that's not what this live stream's about. I don't know. Where do you think ThoughtPat was at his strongest? I guess.
Let me actually remember. Jesus Christ! It's funny how that literally just happened like an hour ago, and I'm still forgetting like a good bit of it. I think honestly the ethics thing, because that seemed to be what you were weaker at. So he definitely tried to nip that in the bud, but and also I guess kind of getting, which preferably I didn't. Preferably I think it was I would have. Sorry, I didn't prefer that the conversation went towards like a discussion of whether we should have a state or not, but I think he did pretty well with, as far as I remember, with that discussion. Though that wasn't really the main point of the debate. Of course, it was about planned economies versus market economies. I mean, you could have like a state market socialist and a someone who advocates for no state and planning. So it kind of, I guess the discussion really started to get towards what do y'all specifically advocate for? So like you specifically for like, sortition and cybernetic socialism, while with him, specifically anarchism and free market, socialism. Novins asks, any good strategy games?
You're looking at one right now. But for me, I play a fuckload of CRPGs. So another good one would be the OG Baldur's Gate, like Baldur's Gate 2. Baldur's Gate 2 is a really, really good game. Non-RPG strategy games, StarCraft, Warcraft 3. What else? Dawn of War, Warhammer 40k, Dawn of War 2, Total War Shogun, and those are all that come to mind at this moment. But if you're looking for the best video game you'll ever read, I would say that Planescape Torment is the best video game you will ever read.
Recently I've been playing Children of a Dead Earth, which is a pretty obscure one, and I would definitely look into it. I think right now it's still $2 on Steam. So if you just have $2 lying around, definitely it'd be fun. But I would look into a bit before you buy it, because it's kind of a weird game. But it's supposed to be like a realistic space warfare type game. So if that sounds like your fancy,
oh boy, ouch time. These guys look tough. Holy fuck. Oh, here goes nothing. Oh no. Oh dude, this is scary. This is fucking scary. You got the bow out, good. Focus on penetration. Focus on beating their armor, or bypassing their armor, because these guys look tough as shit. Anyways, Spideys, go over to those guys. Go forth, Spidey. Actually, get that guy. So yeah, the general strat. What's up?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. I was just gonna go back into the whole discussion about debates, or the debate.
Right. All in all, I feel good about it. I think I did pretty good. I want to send. There's a book that I do recommend. It's called Socialist Unemployment. I highly recommend it. Just in general for everyone, really.
That's another thing. I think it would have been better if you well, I guess you didn't really have the chance to, but maybe for next time, try to definitely plug in books as much as possible, because of course that looks good, but also it gets people to actually read what you're talking about. But I don't think in this I wouldn't. Yeah, I think in this debate there probably wasn't as much of a chance to do that. But there was I keep forgetting, what is up with me today? I do not know what the hell I'm...
I don't know, but these fucking ghosts are wrecking my shit. Oh, thank God.
The discussion on democracy.
Yeah.
On sortition. I think so there was a couple times where you said that that ThoughtBat, quote unquote, got you. So I guess what were your
He thought he got me.
No, you said that he got you, or that he cracked the code on something or something like that. I forgot exactly the terminology they used.
Right, because he was talking about how he doesn't want a broad-reaching state, even if it's democratic, to be able to basically dictate decision-making on local councils or municipalities, more or less, because he felt, because he feels like it's an infringement on individual rights. And watch how fast the party dies when I do nothing. You see that shit, guys? That's how you know you're not leveled enough for an encounter. But anyways, just wanted to show that. That's what happens when you are not strong enough. So I'm probably going to return to... Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to fucking return to surface and go back to Defiance Bay. But as I was saying, I said, yeah, you cracked the code. That's the point. That's like one of the main points of democracy is it's basically the majority getting their way over the desires of the minority. That's more or less the point of democracy, is the arguments that I was posing. And that me being an advocate of democracy, I mean, I acknowledge that. I understand that that's a thing, which is why, in an ideal democracy, we should be trying to achieve the outcomes, the most desirable outcomes, where as many people are as satisfied as possible.
Yeah, I think that could have been fixed and could have gone somewhere. Maybe a bit more productive if like y'all went into municipal and like federal distinctions. Because I mean, even the United States, even though our democracy is questionable,
it is a democracy. It's a democracy for like the top 10% of the population.
Yeah. Well, but I was saying like at least what we see de jure is that we do have divisions. Like we have states, counties / municipalities, and you go all the way up and you have the federal. So, and I mean, I think every society has had this. It's not like you're just gonna have a 350 million like mass of people vote on every single thing. It's going to be divided and chopped up on regions, on industry. So it all depends. It is a representative democracy, not a democracy. Well, yeah, I think we're talking more about just, again, the de jure parts of it. We're talking about like the de facto. So someone brought up something. Okay, Noob Slayer again. Can you guys address Michael Albert's conception of participatory economics? I don't know if you know much about that.
I don't know anything about it, but if you could describe it for me, I could probably give some insights.
Okay, so I don't know too much about it either. I haven't read. I'm pretty sure Michael Alberts wrote it with someone else. I know there's a lot of memes about it though. Hold on, participatory economics. As far as I understand it, basically it's a decentrally planned system where, or is it perhaps? No, I think it's decentral. It's it's decentralized planning, and you sort of what is it? The people within a community that whatever like these decisions, these economic decisions will affect, and they're going to be, of course, productive, within it. If they're going to be working for it, they have these meetings basically and reach a sort of consensus, right? And one of the memes that I know have been very famous with it is that people don't, which I think someone even brought up in the debate in the comments, was that they don't want to like sit in a bunch of meetings like every day because you have tons and tons of people. Like imagine, let's say your local city or your local county, and you having to what's it called? You having to
vote on literally everything.
Vote on literally everything. Yeah. Well, not just a vote, but also discuss it. You have to actually get into a discourse, because I think that's the main point of participatory economics, is that it can't just be an alienating like vote. It needs to be a active participation within both discourse and labor and consumption and exchange.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in favor of direct democracy wherever it's feasible or wherever it's pragmatic. But otherwise, if there are certain things that need to be left up to more centralized administrative bodies, then I think that's the more pragmatic route to go. And that the best thing to do is to keep people from abusing power is, one, make sure their interests are as aligned with the general populace as humanly possible. And the best way to do this, as far as I can tell, is a form of sortition democracy.
Oh, ThoughtBat's in the chat and said, "Hey, Trav, thanks for talking to me."
Oh, no problem. You want to come in? You have the StreamYard link, right? If you'd like to come in, like, I've got like another 20 minutes to hang out. If you'd like to talk. Oh, fucking ghosts. Great.
Oh, also, just for everyone in the chat, are y'all liking the Pillars of Eternity gameplay?
Oh boy, these douche nozzles. I fucking hate ghosts, dude. I don't think I've ever found ghosts in most RPGs that I've played suck, but like ghosts in this game are just total pieces of shit. Like the debuffs are ridiculous. They'll blind you, they'll paralyze you, petrify you. Like ghosts fuck you up, dude. I fucking hate ghosts.
I ain't afraid of no ghost.
I ain't afraid of no spooks. Oh, see? I rest my case. I'm stunned. I rest my case. Thank you. Thank you, game, for vindicating me. Rarg. Tell me, ghosts, do you feel fear? Let's find out.
Okay, I'll back in a second. Sorry.
As I scream very intelligently. That's another thing that's shit about ghosts in this game, is that they fucking have like really, really high interrupt. Like, also, you're gonna die. Get the fuck away. Get the fuck away. Disengage. Disengage. You do the Grimoire smash. Wait, he doesn't have Grimoire smash. All right, then you go over here. You already used it. All right. Regenerating ally endurance. Let's do that. Get the fuck away, my healing. Oh, my lord, my lord. Oh no, my healer's down. Shit. Not good. Did you send him that link, by the way? Actually, oh fuck it. I'll just send you the link. Here, I'll send you the link, ThoughtBat. Here, go ahead and come on in. And yeah, if you'd like to, come on in, get in here. We can have a little chat for like the next 20 minutes because I gotta leave soon, anyways. I need to go to work. Oh man, come on, punk ass fucking ghosts. You don't even have second wind? What the? Oh, I need. That's why I can't do it. I don't have athletics. Shit. Okay. Well, we'll do swift strikes. Okay, let's see the difference that this makes. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Here. All right, now that you're faster, do this. Can I knock ghosts down? Just curious. Can I knock you down, ghost? Everyone, kill the ghost behind you if you can. Yeah, so one thing about pillars is like whenever you have a downed ally, stop that in here. It's not. Whenever you have a downed ally, they'll get injured. Like Lilith Shaw, she now has Frostbite, which means minus 15 to Fortitude and minus 8 damage reduction. So she's super vulnerable right now. And whenever an ally gets hurt that badly, they are going to need to take a rest, which, I mean, my party's kind of beat up right now, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Trolls and oozes will attack my stronghold in 15 days. Let me guess, trap, rain prism, or anything else here? No? Let's go ahead and save. You gotta, hold on, that doesn't make sense here. Copy and Paste. I thought I'd send it straight to you. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. Oh, here we go. Here. Oh, you're in now. Perfect. Get in here. All right, back to gaming. What's up, man?
Oh, hold on. Just muting the other one. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Well, you're seeing it. Living the dream. Fucking, nope, not going that way. I'm saving first. There are some encounters in this game that are just straight up impossible. And right now, there's like in order for me to get legitimacy over Cade Nua, I need to. There's another lord who has like claim to my land, so I have to defeat him in battle in order to have legitimate claim to Cade Nua by killing him in his army. But the problem is like I'm kind of under leveled for it, so I'm just doing side quests in the time being, so I can gather the resources I need in order to like defend myself. Let's see.
What game is it called?
Pillars of Eternity.
No, I've never heard of it. I think the only strategy games I've ever been involved in is Total War, Rome Total War. The old classic Rome Total War was by far the best. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Oh, I've played Total War. It's been a while, but yeah, I've played it. It's good stuff. I like me some Total War.
Exactly.
I like me some Total War, and I like me some Jesus. Do a little Arcane Veil. Do a little Arcane Veil in here. So, highly recommend this game. It is a very, very good RPG. I need stuff that boosts their saving throws.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But,
so, I've been watching a little bit of a stream. You've commented on individualism. Now, I'm actually a critic of individualism. I try not to conflate egoism with individualism too much because individualism. Well, when individualists talk about, I prioritize the individual. What is the individual? Who is this individual? Is it all individuals? I don't really know. So I don't actually see any dichotomy between collectivism and individualism. To me, that isn't the problem.
Same here. What do you do? Oh, increase accuracy. Oh, that's bitchin'. That's fucking bitchin'. I'm gonna cast that shit.
Okay, I am back. Hello.
Hey, welcome. We are joined.
Hello there. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So, what were you all talking about?
I was clarifying that I don't actually identify as an individualist. I've got my own criticisms of individualism, and that is when we talk about individualism versus collectivism. It's like, what do we prioritize? Do we prioritize the collective or do we prioritize the individual? Well, I don't know what the individual is. Is it the average individual or is it all individuals? Either way, I think we're dealing in terms of a collective.
Gotcha. So it's sort of like with when Stirner talks about like, I am not man. I am, I'm myself.
Precisely, yeah. Because egoism tells you exactly who to prioritize, yourself. So I suppose I didn't chase Trav down enough, I think, on my part, on the ethical part.
Yeah.
And I kind of let the conversation be drawn out into going off into all different avenues. So I was kind of struggling to like collect my thoughts and really address each point, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
I was trying to keep it like point by point, because I didn't want to go in a billion different directions. I apologize if that's what I ended up doing. I was just trying to narrow it down to like single issues that I would have. There's a book that I plugged at the start of this. It's called Socialist Unemployment, and it talks about Yugoslavia's economy. And I think it's a book you might be interested in if you want to learn about like what went down in Tito's Yugoslavia.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Tito's Yugoslavia because the guy who actually got me into mutualism was himself a syndicalist. He wasn't an anarchist, but he actually holds up Tito's Yugoslavia as like the main model, so to speak. So and I've not really done a lot of research on that in particular, mainly because it's not really it's not a mutualist economy, so it's not quite.
the reason why, okay, so this is the reason why. I don't know if you were here for this part, but I was explaining why I talk a great deal about like the history of various socialist projects, and it's because they had their shortcomings. Some things worked out for them, some things didn't, and that we as like scientific socialists, as communists, should be able to like figure out what worked and what didn't, and so that we can address it and have like a even more functional model in the future. Because I mean, as it stands now, unless people can see like a viable alternative, like unless there's like we have the answers and we can present like a very strongly viable alternative to capitalism, that's something that we should. It's just something we should be able to do if we want to sell people on an alternative system. Is all.
And I actually agree with that. One problem anarchism has is that very thing. We don't really have a platform. We don't have a list of policy applications and etc. I was trying to talk about possible models or possible outcomes without recognizing that in a free society, I've got no real say on how anything is going to pan out. It's going to be a case of people experimenting and working out for what's going to be best for themselves. But with that comes a problem of trying to sell anarchism. The reason I think the anarchists lost the debate in Russia was because the Leninists were by far more effective at presenting their ideas and their policies. The problem then is this idea of platformism. I don't know if you're familiar with the debate on platformism within anarchist circles.
Platformers. Is this about the tolerance paradigm?
I don't believe so. It was a debate between Makhno and Malatesta back in the day when they were live, and so basically Makhno was advocating for a basic anarchists to copy communist parties and effectively organize together and say, right, okay, this is what anarchism is, this is what anarchists must do, and this is how we must achieve anarchism. And it's an interesting debate on the Anarchist Library between Malatesta and Makhno on how whether or not such a thing is a good thing or how it could work. I'm kind of sold on it. I think there's some problems with the whole. It kind of negates the whole point of anarchism, which involves voluntary association and obviously the social experimentation that comes with that. But I guess I'm waffling now.
Okay. Oh boy, more flame assholes. Wait, I have cold spells, don't I? I don't want you to think that I'm not listening because I am, but
multitasking.
Yeah. Anywho, let's go ahead and get my spells off, get my buffs off.
He is gamer and debater socialist at the same time.
Yeah.
He's basically Vosh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right.
Have you guys seen his debate with that one guy? I watched it or listened to it last night, and it was pretty fucking embarrassing for Vosh.
What one?
It was the one where he was debating this guy on whether or not the chemical weapons attacks in Syria actually happened. And he was just going through the OPEC report and explaining that the chemical weapons attack actually didn't happen, and that the original source was from the White Helmets, but it didn't happen. And Vosh just kept trying to pivot and like basically change the topic or get him to, I guess, trying to corner him, I guess. Or Vosh was just being dishonest. He constantly compared him to a Holocaust denier. He was using some really shitty bad faith debate tactics, and my healer stunned. I gotta reload.
Right, it's what you expect from Vosh, to be honest.
Dude, Vosh is so freaking dishonest. Like, I swear to God, from the onset of the debate, he was straight up conflating this guy with being a neo-Nazi. Like, he does this with literally anybody who questions the mainstream narrative on anything. Like, literally anything. And it's just ridiculous.
I think it might have been the debate he had with you or another communist where they said, "Vosh, you're reading off CIA propaganda," And Vorsh turns around and goes, "Oh, just replace CIA with Jews, and you're basically a Nazi." It's like, what? I don't understand Vorsh's brain sometimes.
I think it was
Speaking of
Trav actually.
possibly, speaking of Vorsh,
Yeah.
he's been responding to my tweet as well. Quite interestingly, I tagged him in some things, and he was basically talking about the US intervention in Syria and Afghanistan, and his main justification was to prevent the imperialism from other countries. If we're not there, then China will be, or this other country will be. It's like, well, that's not a fucking justification for imperialism.
Yeah, we might as well be everywhere at that point.
It's like say, because I made the comparison to the idea that, well, if the British didn't colonize Australia, then, well, the French would have done, the Dutch would have done. So it's good that the British colonized Australia. That's just it's the same logic.
Oh my god, that's so weird. I don't even know how.
Oh, there we go.
I never really was a fan of Vosh, but nowadays I can't. Like every time I look at his debates, I'm like, how can people watch them?
I used to actually the first Vorsh video I saw was a year ago, where he was talking about he was making a response video to Tankies, as in I think it was his rant against re-education, I believe. And I that's back earlier on in my day when I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like Tankies, and he's a market socialist, even better. And then you start listening to him talking about what he thinks anarchism is, or what he thinks market socialism is, or his strategy for achieving it. You just sort of think the guy hasn't read a book.
Yeah, it's funny because he says he's an anarchist, but I've heard him talk about Marx, but I've never heard him talk about any or specifically anarchist thinker. Like no Rudolf Rocker, no no Kropotkin, not even anyone newer like James C. Scott or anything like that.
No Kevin Carson, no Proudhon, even though they are the market socialists.
That's another one. Oh, that's another one. Oh my gosh, thank you for bringing that up. Because when he first was he used to call himself an anarcho-syndicalist, and yet he still advocated for market socialism. And I'm like, wasn't he just aren't you just a mutualist? And people would bring that up in the chat, and he would ban them because, because they would say that, and then he was just like, oh, I don't want to get into it. And I'm like, just call yourself a mutualist. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I suppose syndicalism and mutualism are compatible in some ways. Ish. Maybe you can argue that we can get to a mutualist society through union-owned cooperatives, which is an interesting concept. But I think syndicalism has sadly had its day. I've got my own criticisms of syndicalism, not principle. I just don't think syndicalism would do much.
It's just I think it's just old theory more than anything else. It's just old theory. It's kind of it's kind of a dated ideology, sort of like Owenism, or you have all these sub tendencies of different types. Like you don't hear about the neo-Jacobins anymore, or the Babuvians, or the Kautskys and so on, or these other trends, just because they're dead ideologies that died with the people who came up with them more than anything. I'm going to kick this ghost.
I think Malatesta gave the most devastating critique of trade unions and of syndicalism. He basically just said, well, I'm not a syndicalist, even though the most successful example of it has been syndicalist things. But the problem with imagining that society is going to be transformed by unions is that unions themselves are inherently reformist. The reason that is because as unions, we need to appeal to the majority of as many workers as possible. If it didn't do that, then they're just going to be a fringe thing off to the side. And in doing so, you can't be an anarchist union. You can't be a revolutionary union, because if you are, then you're going to have to sideline the vast majority of the working class, effectively, as I said before, shrink, limiting your size, or you just let yourself turn into a more reformist organisation.
Yeah, I mean, unions have been stifled. There's corruption. I think there's some value in. There's definitely value in doing it. I'm not saying that, but uh, I think they have. I think they have very hard limits with respect to what can be achieved. I mean, yeah. Maybe I should make a great sword that's good against ghosts. Ghosts.
I don't know how much time we have left for the stream, but
We have a few minutes. I'm gonna end it here soon, but
okay.
we can go for a bit longer.
So actually, I'll just ask one thing. So, Thoughtbat, the first video I saw of yours was yours against your video against Hakeem, and
Yep.
in the comments you had a back and forth with Hakeem, and Hakeem asked you specifically whether you were a Marxist or not, or no, you said in the video that you weren't a Marxist, I think, right? And then you
Yep.
brought up that you were a mutualist, or that specifically you take from like mutualist criticisms of capitalism. That's what it was. And you brought up Kevin Carson, which I never heard of Kevin Carson. So for everybody who doesn't know, Kevin Carson is basically a contemporary, political, I guess, how do you say, like, analyst, or he has like a blog, right?
Yeah.
And he argues for like modern day, mutualism. And I was wondering, what would you, I guess, recommend for people to, get into that, like into Carson's thought, if
So there's a book called Studies in Mutualist Political Economy. I did some reading of that, brushing up on it in preparation for this debate, but sadly I wasn't actually able to invoke any of it. So I think Kevin Carson is a massive read. Anything he does, it's like God knows how many pages long. Like it's he's trying to outdo Marx and Marx's Capital. But I would say the best thing for Carson's mutualism would be mutualism studies in mutualist economy is the book. Another book I would recommend as like very simple reading for like people who are new to this idea is a book called Markets Not Capitalism, and that's a series of essays from different authors who are of the left libertarian sort of market anarchists. Not all of them are mutualists. Some of them are mutualists, but that was written by Gary Chartier and with who was the other one? Charles Johnson. So there's some good articles in there, basically using the old Benjamin Tucker critique of capitalism as well as some mutualist ones. There is essays in there from Verdon as well.
So it's called Markets Without Capitalism?
Markets Not Capitalism.
Oh, Markets Not Capitalism. There we go.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. For anybody who's in the server or would like to join the server, if you need a link, please tell me. I'll get PDFs of these and put them in literature, because I don't think it's mutualism is not something that people talk about a lot. I think people throw around the term a lot, or they throw around Proudhon, but I think you're the first person I've ever seen who actually seems to have like read these people and like talks about it. So yeah,
I think the lack of theory in general is a problem in anarchist circles. I titled one of my videos "What is property?" Why is property a gaping hole in anarchist theory? Because anarchists don't talk about property, even though it is essentially the most fundamental question in economics. I said in the debate, economic models are determined by who owns what. So this should be the center of our analysis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we can. I think everyone here could agree on that. Like, there's definitely not enough theory reading.
Yep. I've got a response to to that video by a guy. Oh, I've forgotten his name, but he sent me a counter video against that. If I should have remembered the guy's name before saying this, I'll just go and double check it. So, Lord Pastor Productions says he mostly agrees with the critique of capitalist property norms, but he's not a fan of usufruct property. So I asked him for the issues, and he's linked me to one of his videos. So I'll go and check that out, and I'll probably make a private response video. So for him, it was actually responding to my egoist video as well. Interesting.
Yeah. Are you going to make more What do you in the future? Are you going to make videos on Kevin Carson?
I did promise in my response to Hakeem to do a summary video of studies in mutualist political economy, because I think that is a good fundamental book in terms of like anarchist economic theory. Particularly, they try and synthesize the Labour theory of value with subjectivist takes on value, because essentially to have value you need a valuer. So there's going to be a degree of subjectivity in there. So Kevin Carson goes through how we can synthesize those two schools.
Interesting. Yeah, it's very fascinating. Have you heard of David Graeber?
No, we haven't.
Oh, so he's or he was. He died, I think, in September. A anarchist anthropologist, though he didn't like to be called an anarchist anthropologist because he had a different view of anarchism. But nonetheless, a anarchist anthropologist, and he wrote a book, which I think you may find interesting, called "Debt: The First 5,000 Years." That's kind of like his main text, and it talks about the origin of markets and of money. And I think it's really fascinating because he didn't that book particularly is not as much it's not explicitly anarchist, but I think it does kind of, if he is correct on what he was talking about, it definitely would lead to a lot of interesting conclusions when it comes to what anarchists should advocate for and pinpoint in the future. He was like one of the people behind the Occupy Wall Street movement, and he wrote I think 2 books on that. But yeah, very interesting thing. I'd highly recommend him.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely look into them. I also need to look more into the Occupy Wall Street movement itself, because I actually know nothing about it. Whenever Pissor mentions it, I just do not know what it was. That's an error on my part.
Occupy Wall Street is an example of the spontaneity of the masses, much like BLM, without any sort of like list of cohesive demands, organization, or ideological guidance at the helm. It just isn't there. I mean, essentially, that's really what it was. And, it's the same reason why the BLM protests didn't materialize into anything meaningful. It's because there wasn't really like, there wasn't like any like guiding principles behind it at the helm is the problem. That's why I didn't really like achieve anything. Yeah,
it's basically just a big fuck you to globalization.
Yeah, just people rightfully angry because they're getting hosed by the system, basically.
Fair enough. So I understand that we're coming towards pretty much the end of the stream, but yeah. I'd like, because one of my insecurities about the debate is I don't feel like I've really been that thought provoking. As thought bat, I think that's what I want to do. I want to make people think, or challenge people in their thinking. So I'm just going to leave with this quote, and this quote basically summarizes why I think anarchism is such an interesting philosophy, because essentially the anarchists predicted what would happen to the Leninist Soviet Union and those kinds of projects before they were even conceptualized by Lenin himself. But this is a quote from Malatesta on the Soviet Union. Bonaparte also served to defend the French Revolution against the European reaction, but in defending it, he killed it. Lenin, Trotsky, and their companions are certainly sincere revolutionaries, as they understand the revolution, and they will not betray it. But they prepare the governmental cadres that will serve those that will come, who will profit from the revolution and kill it. They will be the first victims of their method, and with them, I fear, will fall the revolution, and history will repeat itself. It was the dictatorship of Robespierre which brought Robespierre to the guillotine, prepared the way for Napoleon. These are my general ideas upon things in Russia, in so much as the news that we get from Russia is too contradictory to base upon it a judgment. It is possible that many things that seem bad are the fruit of the situation, and that in the peculiar circumstances in Russia it is impossible to do otherwise than was done. It's better to wait, much more so than in whatever we might say we would have no influence upon the developments in Russia, and might be ill-interpreted in Italy and seem to echo interested calamities of the reaction. The important thing is what we must do. But there we go again. I'm far away and impossible for me to do my part. So he's effectively predicting the return of the insurgents of Stalin, and effectively Trotsky was a victim of this manifestation.
In all honesty, you're probably going to disagree with this take, but I honestly think Trotsky's excommunication from the USSR was pretty much justified because of what he was trying to do. I mean,
I'm no fan of Trotsky.
I appreciate like his role that he played. He played a very important role in the Civil War, but beyond that, I mean, a lot of his ideas weren't really pragmatic or really made any sense. He was frequently just contrarian to the Central Committee at a lot of times, and was not really like. And he was the type of guy who was like democratic centralism for me, but not for thee. In all honesty, why I think Trotsky in particular is kind of despicable is, you know about Lenin's Testament, right?
Yep.
Are you familiar? Yeah, well, everyone knows about Lenin's Testament, but a lot of people don't understand the context surrounding it. Trotsky was basically trying to twist the words of a dying man so that he could justify, like, or try to get Stalin pulled from his position. And I mean, it ended up not working in the end because at that point it wasn't up to him or Lenin because he wasn't in politics anymore. It was up to the Central Committee. And the reason why Stalin was so popular was because the ideas and policy he was in favor of just made the most sense at the time. We could, after, two wars, World War and Civil War, we could, try to be a Napoleon, go full Napoleon and, continue to go wage war across Europe. Or we could just make do with what we have and try to build socialism on the home front, which is what they inevitably did. So that's why things more or less turned out the way they did.
It's for that reason I find Stalinism by far the more interesting of the two ideas. I don't know if you know, but Trotskyism is an incredibly popular thing in Britain. Like any active Marxist organization will be Trotskyist if you're in Britain.
Yeah.
But they always present their ideas as like a libertarian version of it, a version of the Soviet Union. They say, "Oh, the Soviet Union was cruel, it was this and it was the other." But
yeah,
honestly, Trotskyism was Trotsky himself was just as brutal. If you look at what he did in Ukraine, just villages, not people who are fighting him.
Yeah,
Kronstadt. Ukraine.
No. Not just Ukraine, but Kronstadt as well. Like the Kronstadt Rebellion, Trotsky got the nickname the Butcher of Kronstadt because he also oversaw the executions of like thousands of people.
Yeah,
that wasn't Stalin. That was Trotsky right there. He was in control of the army at the time.
Yeah. So as you know, if I'm to be camaraderie about previous anarchist things, I've got no reason to like Trotsky.
Yeah, I mean. What else? There was something else I was going to say before I was going to sign off because I am about to get off here in a minute. The only reason I stayed this long was because I was trying to grind out another level before I left, but I now see that's not going to happen. I can't remember. The book that I recommended. I would look into, if I were you, I would definitely look into socialist unemployment because it's an interesting read. But with that being said, if you ever would like to come on my channel sometime, I mean, I'm down to talk. I mean, you're a pretty cool dude, so why not?
Yeah, sure. I'll certainly consider it. I've enjoyed the debate. I've enjoyed talking to you here as well. I think you're a reasonable guy. So I was expecting you to be a bit more like the Vor stream. I was kind of prepared for that, but you proved me wrong.
Yeah, no, it's honestly fine. I understand first online debate. It's no big deal. Do you have any idea like how anxious I got before I went to debate Vosh?
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, no, because there were thousands of people watching that stream, and in order to suppress my own anxiety and self-consciousness, I ended up drinking to suppress it. And I got kind of belligerent, and people complained about me like interrupting him, but he was literally interrupting me the whole time and like constantly conflate me with being a Nazi and like misrepresenting what I'm about. So, I mean, I think I maintained level-headedness, except like in the middle, but otherwise, yeah. If I were you, I wouldn't debate Vosh. I mean, you'll gain subscribers, but I don't know.
I wouldn't debate Vosh on his
Yeah.
own platform anyway.
Yeah, but anyways, Thought Bad, everyone. He's got a channel. Check it out.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I'll see you in the
Peace
next
out,
one.
guys.
Ta-da.